Our next guest is an Emmy-nominated actor. You know from his work on Law & Order: Criminal Intent and Godfather of Harlem. In addition to his roles in movies like Full Metal Jacket and Men in Black, he returns as Kingpin in Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. New episodes premiere Tuesdays on Disney+. Let's take a look.
As you know, months ago, there was an attempt on my life by the masked vigilante known as Bullseye. We have reason to believe that Matt Murdock, the lawyer from Hell's Kitchen, survived the attack on his apartment. This is important because Matt Murdock is a hero.
Please welcome to the show, Vincent D'Onofrio, everybody. Hi, man. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah, here I am.
Now, so initially you did gain weight to play Kingpin.
When we did a Netflix show, yeah.
Yeah, so that's almost 10 years ago now. And so you've played this role for a decade over a lot of different shows. Is it crazy to have been playing it for this long? When you started it, when you embarked on it, did you have any expectations?
Well, we never thought we'd be doing it this long. Once it got pulled from Netflix, we weren't sure whether it was going to come back at all. Charlie was less sure.
Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil,
He always accuses me of being a bit delusional because I always said it was going to come back. But I just thought, we knocked it out of the park with the Netflix show. Why didn't they bring it back? But eventually they did. It's, when I did Law & Order: Criminal Intent, I did that for 10 years, 9 seasons for 10 years. So I have played a part this long before. But this guy is, he's a nut job.
He's a different cat. And also, so many compliments too, because now you're wearing like a bodysuit. Because obviously I was surprised when I saw how svelte you are in real life. I'm like, oh, they're doing a great job. Because you do not look like a healthy man on screen. And you look very fit now.
Yeah.
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 Do you enjoy wearing
I do not enjoy it.
But I guess it's still better than having to carry it around all day in real life.
That's very true. Colin Farrell and I actually became friends over wearing these suits.
Right, of course, because Penguin, that's a real,
Yeah, and so we are able to talk about the hatred we have for them and how we love to play the characters at the same time, which makes our lives miserable.
They are both characters who have, I think they're both born of some self-hate. I don't think you turn into Kingpin or the Penguin without some self-hate. Do you think it helps you as an actor?
I do, yeah. I do, yeah. So, there's that, and then there's some acting techniques, I guess. But it's mostly the hatred.
It's not just the suit, guys? You're also bringing something to it?
I would say it's 99% the suit that brings forward the hatred.
You get to be, you're the mayor this year. As a lifelong New Yorker, do you enjoy getting to also play the mayor of the Big Apple?
I sort of feel like Kingpin feels when I think about it, like it's not something I would prefer doing, but think I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, he's doing it just to get his stretch across the world a little further. His plan is to take over every port in the world.
That's some good old school stuff when you take over ports.
Yeah.
So you gained a lot of weight for the initial role, but this was, I would imagine, harder and maybe more satisfying. These are your real arms. There was a boxing scene, and so that's impressive work. Bravo.
Yeah.
Give it up for the guns.
So you guys you're applauding my arms. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, I think, so we had this boxing match thing to do, and I wanted to, I didn't want, in the show I'm always completely clad because of the fat suit, so it goes from my ankles to my wrists, But I wanted to show, at least if he's in a boxing ring, to show his shoulders and his arms. So we still had to use the stomach part, and I had to make my upper body, I had to work out hard, make my upper body look like it was in proportion to the rest of the body, but with muscles. So
that's very impressive.
Yeah.
And where the guys who made the bodysuit, did they have to tip their cap and be like, all right, we underestimated you. You could do it on your own. You could do it on your own.
I've had a career made up of underestimation.
All right, so another role that you had to gain weight for, Full Metal Jacket, an incredible, iconic film. Leonard. First, you're so, again, so perfectly cast in this film, but the way it came about was sort of a little unnatural. How did Stanley Kubrick find you for the part of Leonard?
I didn't have an agent for film. I had a theater agent, a small little agent, Anita Castle. I'll never forget. She got me my first, or helped me get my first show, Broadway. It was on Broadway. So I was just doing that, and I had no idea that they were making that movie at all. And then a friend of mine, Matthew Modine, who was on hiatus from the movie for a couple of weeks, he was back in New York. And I was working at Hard Rock Cafe when it used to be on 57th Street. And him and his wife were walking by, and I went up to him and asked him, what he was up to, because we'd known each other from class, acting class, and also auditions and stuff. And he said, I'm doing this Stanley Kubrick movie. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. He started before me. I think he did like 4 or 5 films before my career started, and Matthew. But we were always been good friends, and we are to this day. He said, here, this is the address you should send. There's thousands of people sending stuff, but you should send stuff. And so I did, and I got about a week later, I got a call from somebody who I thought was one of my bouncer friends giving me a hard time. So I hung up on them. And because they all knew that I was trying to be an actor, and they were all like firefighters and cops that used to moonlight and work a second job. So they were always giving me a hard time about being an actor. So, but eventually they called right back, and the first thing Leon Vitali, who was his right-hand man, said, "Don't hang up. Stanley Kubrick wants to talk to you."
Oh my God.
Okay, great.
It is really funny to think of a off-duty fireman calling you up and pretending to be Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I thought that Stanley Kubrick was British. I didn't know that he was from the Bronx.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll own that too. I think if I got a Bronx accent being like I'm Stanley Kubrick, I'd be like, no, you're not.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I said. No, you're not.
Can I ask, when you say you sent stuff to an address, like in that era, are you just sending like headshots, or you putting yourself on tape?
No, look, it was very expensive at the time. The cameras, video cameras were like this big, right? And they were, and then the deck was like the size of a Volkswagen bus, and you had to wear the deck. Anyway, my friend and I, we spent like $60 or something that we didn't have. Rented a camera. I sat on a stoop on 10th Avenue and 21st Street, I believe it was, and I did a monologue from a play, and we put it on tape. I had a friend that was at NYU who was learning to be a filmmaker and an editor, and we brought the big disc, the cassette was like that big.
Yeah.
Brought it to him, and he edited out one of the takes for us that we thought it was the best one, and I sent it.
That's unbelievable. And then you, is it true that you would sit with Stanley Kubrick while he was directing in the scenes you weren't in?
Before I started, I got to sit with him when he was shooting some of the Vietnam stuff and just watch the whole thing. That was fascinating.
He was sort of famous for a lot of takes.
Yeah, he was.
What's the most?
I mean, the most I did was 9 takes for this. There's a scene in this show called The Blanket Party where they beat up my character,
yes,
the rest of the platoon, and we did that 9 times. That was the most we ever did. But I was around for a longer amount of takes watching other people do them.
What's the most you saw him make an actor do?
It's so sad to talk about. Somewhere around 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of takes.
Yeah.
And do you feel like, I mean, again, he obviously, whatever he chose was right. The evidence is on screen. It's a classic. Did you feel like when you were watching it, you're like, I think he got it?
Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah.
That is, now it is really
it's
sad.
Just my heart sunk every
yeah.
take,
Yeah.
because I knew that as the takes went on, as an actor, you get more and more pressured, and
Yeah.
it was just, Yeah.
How is this an old school? How is he communicating from behind the camera to an actor? Like, is it
Megaphone, loud.
Oh, like an old
Yeah.
school megaphone?
Yeah, like 40 feet away.
Wow.
Yeah, you screwed up. Take 72.
This is Stanley from the Bronx. That's
Yeah.
not the Bronx, but
It's close though.
it was a little too Chicago. But also this was not. So you put yourself on tape, but you were
even
not.
sure
You were
that
not
was
big
Chicago,
like.
Actually,
What's that?
I'm not even sure it was Chicago.
Hey, you don't have to be my Stanley Kubrick.
Got it. Okay, great. Great.
Did you? But you put on weight for this role
80
as well.
pounds, yeah.
80 pounds.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that was that the request as well? I mean, obviously Leonard was that sort of soldier.
He said you're going to have to put on some weight. We didn't know it was going to be like 80 pounds.
Right.
But I went over there and I put on like 30 or 40 pounds and I just looked like I could kick everybody's butt.
Right.
So that didn't work.
Yeah.
So we had to keep adding it. And then eventually it went up to like, I think I went from 210 to like 290 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I can't imagine that was fun to do, but I feel like it was essential to the part. The way it endures.
I don't think I'd be here talking to you right now if it wasn't for that.
I feel like I think everybody knows that was you. I sometimes forget, and my kids just watched it for the first time. Men in Black. This is you in Men in Black. Sort of unrecognizable. Based on how you feel about the fat suit, I'm guessing you didn't love getting in makeup for this every day.
I actually, I don't mean to be so obstinate.
No, every
honestly.
time you zig, I think you're gonna zig. You like this.
I did because it was with Rick Baker, who was like one of the,
yeah.
you know, and I don't know what I can tell you about that time, but we spent we were a bit high sometimes.
Okay.
And
You buried the lead, and now I think everybody knows why you were hesitating and why you enjoyed this.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the thing would last from the sessions, depending on where the character was, what stage he was in, would last somewhere between 3 and 9 hours.
Wow.
But we just liked each other so much, Rick and I, that we just loved hanging out anyway. And he would just paint, like he's painting your face.
Right.
And it was just this thing. It was amazing. No, it was okay.
I mean, sometimes you're just lucky to work with people who are the best in the world at something.
Like how
and
can
so
you-
time with
how
them is
can you
pretty
complain?
special. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like I used to get called in at like 3 a.m. We would start the makeup. I'd do the makeup for however many hours. As soon as we were ready, because the makeup back then, he invented all the stuff that's basically used now, that they've gotten better at. But I would go in, I would do makeup for as long as it took. We would shoot one scene, that's it, and then I would go home. So I'd be home by like 9 o'clock in the evening to go to sleep in time to wake up 3 in the morning the next day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I want to ask about this. My brother and I were talking to you on our podcast about when you were a young man, you had an obsession with magic, and you're actually good at magic.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that.
All right, here we go. This is very bold.
So I don't know if this is going to work.
Okay,
It's been a long time.
got it.
I find magic to be really boring.
That's great. It's so heartbreaking that you have the gift of magic and you also find it boring.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to pick a card.
Okay.
All right. So it's just a pretty simple trick, actually. It's I figured we'd do the fastest one we could do.
Okay.
So you got to tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Say stop.
Okay. Stop.
Right there. Take it. Make sure you know what it is.
Okay.
Right? You got it?
Yep.
Okay. You sure?
Yes,
You got it in your hand.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's somebody in the audience that has a piece of paper that was given to them.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you open that piece of paper up?
Yeah.
And can you say what it is? King of Hearts.
It's not boring. Magic isn't boring. You're a witch. Thanks for being here, man. You guys, that's Vincent D'Onofrio.
Thank you.
New episodes of Daredevil Born Again premiere Tuesdays on Disney Plus. We'll be right back.